August 1914. Canada was at war. The people of Newfoundland responded with a great outpouring of patriotism. Over a third of all males between the ages of 19 and 35 enlisted. Recruits came in from all over the island. Some came from remote villages. Some had never even attended a school. Enough men had volunteered that a whole battalion was formed, the Newfoundland Regiment. They were hastily trained. Manufacturers rushed to provide uniforms. Standard khaki cloth was hard to find, and the men were dressed in a variety of military costumes. Their lower leggings were made out of a navy blue cloth. They became known as the Blue Puttees. The Battle of the Somme, 1916. The plan was to break the German defenses and clear a path for the cavalry through to the English Channel. But it all went horribly wrong. The result was slaughter. 57,500 British soldiers killed, wounded, or missing in one day. The heaviest day's combat losses ever suffered by the British Army. The battle has come to epitomize the futility of trench warfare. It lasted until November. It did not bring a swift conclusion to the war. Over 1 million soldiers on both sides were killed or wounded. "It is worse than hell here," wrote one young Canadian soldier in a letter to his wife. Another wrote, "We are heading to the slaughterhouse." June 30th, 1916, Beaumont-Hamel, France. The Newfoundlanders prepared for battle. Lieutenant Owen Steele noted in his diary, "It is surprising to see how happy and light-hearted everyone is, and yet this is undoubtedly the last day for a good many." It was his last entry. "Tell all friends that the 1st Newfoundland is okay and never feels downhearted. We will make you all proud of us someday," Private Frank Lind wrote in a letter home. It would be his last correspondence. Both men were killed. The next day, on July 1st, 1916, 801 Newfoundlanders rose from the British trenches and advanced straight into the German line of fire. By the time the battle was over, 732 men were dead, wounded, or missing. The 1st Newfoundland Regiment had been virtually annihilated in less than half an hour. Those who reached enemy lines were tangled in the uncut barbed wire. An isolated gnarled tree marked the spot where the enemy's fire was particularly concentrated. The Newfoundlanders nicknamed it the Danger Tree. Many were killed there. Few advanced past it. Private F.H. Cameron, 1st King's Own Scottish Borderers, saw them die. On came the Newfoundlanders, a great body of men, but the fire intensified and they were wiped out in front of my eyes. I cursed the generals for their useless slaughter. They seemed to have no idea what was going on. Another observer wrote, They all instinctively tucked their chins into an advanced shoulder, as they had so often done when fighting their way home against a blizzard in some little outport in far-off Newfoundland. Back home in Newfoundland, news of the tragedy arrived nearly 2 weeks after the battle. The St. John's Daily News wrote, "Today, all Newfoundland is in sorrow. St. John's was hardest hit. There was hardly a street in the capital where a loved one, a family member, relative, or friend killed at Beaumont-Hamel had not lived. 14 sets of brothers were among the dead. Almost a generation of Newfoundland's potential leaders was lost." The loss was imprinted in the Newfoundland and Labrador psyche. No other unit which fought in the First World War was so identified with the community that raised it, noted one historian. In recognition of the regiment's battlefield contributions, King George V granted the addition of the title Royal to its name, a distinction no other British Army unit earned during the war. Shortly after the war, the Newfoundland government and money raised by the women of the Dominion purchased the ground over which the 1st Newfoundland Regiment made its heroic advance. 9 years after the battle, in 1925, the Beaumont-Hamel Memorial Park was officially opened by Earl Haig. At the site stands a great bronze caribou, the emblem of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment. July 1st has become a day of mixed emotions for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. While most of Canada celebrates, here it is a day of commemoration and mourning, known as Memorial Day. It took the war an hour one day to carve a wound of agony and sorrow in the heart and soul of a people, wrote Newfoundland poet E.J. Pratt.